The AVID Assistant is a tablet and phone-based tool that partially replaces the laminated cards that are part of the game for Squadron, Strike, and Attack Vector. When the program is launched, you have this title screen and a choice of resuming an existing game or starting a new game. We're going to start a new game now. If you have an existing game in the browser's cache, it will ask you if you're certain you want to delete it. When you start a new game, you'll be taken to the setup screen, and you'll have this form to fill out. We're going to make sure that the current turn is 1, and we can set lower maximums for pivot and roll rates. This can be handy if we're duplicating a lot of ships. You'll notice that there's a drop-down with a choice of natural versus as written. We'll be sticking with natural, which updates the orientation markers as you pivot, and is one of the major benefits of the AVID Assistant. We're also given a choice of 2 options that are Squadron Strike specific. Movement mode is a drop-down choice covering mode 0, 1, and 2. We'll stick with mode 1 for now. The other choice implements whether or not bearings are shot from the endpoint only, or from both the midpoint and endpoint. The latter is used for partial turn movement and firing, an optional rule in Squadron Strike. Once we've selected these, we'll select Save and Next. This moves us to the Shipyard window. The gray box will show the names of the ship we add to the program to play our game. We're going to add the first one now by clicking Add Ship. On the Add Ship screen, we'll add the ship ID as a number. I usually use the numbers matching the EOT marker for this. We'll also name the ship. In this particular case, I'm numbering this ship 01 and calling it the HMS Victory. Next, we set the pivot rating, roll rating, and movement mode for the ship. If we set these to lower values in the Setup tab, they'll be constrained here. We also get to pick an AVID color from red or blue and set an initial facing of A through F. Finally, we'll set an initial vertical pitch. We're going to select a blue AVID card with the ship facing direction A in amber, and then click Done. To add more ships, we can select Done, Add More, and it will relaunch this screen for a new ship. Now that we're back at the Shipyard screen, we can add ships, select a ship from the list and edit it, going back to the form we just filled out, or delete it. However, what we're here to do is show you what this program does, and for that, we click Command. In the Command window, that gray box shows the ship's name, its designation, and the shorthand form of its orientation. We've left space to the right to add additional information in future updates. The upper right shows 3 buttons. These are the pilot's wheel, used for tracking heading changes, the sextant, used for shooting bearings, and the targeting crosshairs, used to map bearings to a firing arc diagram. We're going to press the pilot's wheel now. What we see is the central part of the AVID, with the standard orientation symbols presented. To the left, we've got a rendered image of the AVID as seen from the side. For people new to my games, the AVID is a top-down view of a sphere divided into color-coded bands, each of which is further divided into windows. The blue hexagon is the hex the ship is in, and you can visualize your ship as being inside that AVID ball. The orientation markers represent the nose, aft, top, bottom, left, and right sides of your ship. When a symbol is in the bottom half of the AVID, like the bottom marker is here, it's circled. A pivot is any maneuver that drags the ship's nose to a new orientation. To pivot your nose down, tap any part of the hexagon outside the amber ring, like so. This brings up the purple ring you see, and indicates that any pivots that you make will take the nose marker down. To actually pivot, tap the green dots in one of the adjacent AVID windows, like so. You'll see that it updates all of your orientation symbols automatically, and circles your nose marker because it's angled down. That reddish dot with an arrow in it is a trail of prior pivots. If the arrow is circled like it is here, it means you pivoted down. Now we'll pivot to another window, this time in the green ring. At the lower left of the AVID, there's a red button with the letter U in it. This is the Undo button. We're going to undo both of these pivots by clicking it twice. Now we're going to pivot the other way, and pivot up, like so. Underneath the Undo button are a few other buttons. One of them, when pressed, lets you roll the ship. Rolls, as per the rulebook, happen after pivots. The windows that you can roll into are constrained into the top half of the AVID, and are shown by a path of green dots. We're going to roll 2 windows towards the right side of the ship by starting from the left side marker, and clicking like so. Notice that the arrows for the roll path have shorter shafts to keep them visually distinct from pivot arrows. Remember when we set maximum pivot and roll in the ship setup? The program won't let us pivot or roll more windows in a single turn than we'd otherwise be allowed. While we don't have multiple ships, the next buttons would let you select the next ship on the list or the previous ship on the list, so that you can plot all of your pivots and rolls at once. Once you're done plotting your pivots and rolls, as we are here, you can click to Fleet Command. Once you're done plotting pivots and rolls, the next step is to press Next Turn on the command window. We'll say yes to advancing to the next turn, and then tap the pilot's wheel. You'll see that all the intermediate position arrows are gone. This also resets the limit on how many windows a ship can pivot or roll. The button to the lower right of the AVID allows you to rotate the AVID without changing the position of the symbols on it. This lets you reorient the play aid for when your ship flies to the opposite side of the map if it's needed. Let's look at the next major feature of the AVID Assistant, shooting bearings. We'll tap on the sextant button. When you shoot a bearing manually, you have to determine if the target is visible through the hex corner or the side of the hexagon. The algorithm for this is printed on the bottom of the app, and it's a little bit more visible when it's displayed on a tablet or phone. Once you've done that on the tablet, tap the corresponding amber window of the AVID. A slider will show up and you can select the horizontal distance. We're selecting 9 here. To set the vertical separation, tap on the purple window in the middle of the AVID. A vertical slider will pop up and you can select the positive or negative vertical separation. We'll select 7 here. Notice that the program updates the true distance and the AVID window of the bearing. You can remove a bearing by tapping the undo button if you need to. To map a bearing to a firing arc, tap the targeting crosshairs button, like so. In some cases, like this one, you'll have a bearing that doesn't map to a single firing arc diagram window due to a combination of pivots and rolls. Remember the 2 meta rules. Attacker always chooses in ambiguous situations, and round in favor of things exploding. If you tap on the pilot's wheel, you'll see that the bearing you shot is still visible. It's a good idea to shoot a bearing from your EOT marker to your target's EOT marker before you plot your pivots and thrusts. You can use this bearing to ensure that you pivot your guns into arc or to keep your good defenses facing the target after you maneuver. This covers the basic functionality of the AVID Assistant. Thanks for watching.